Hello, BookTube. Recently, I did a dialogue video with Jared Henderson. It was a lot of fun. It was wide-ranging. We talked about a whole bunch of things, as we always do. And in the course of that video, at one point, we were talking about the categories of literature. And I mentioned just offhandedly the broad category breakdown that I have been using forever, and that I think is kind of self-evident between fiction and nonfiction. Yes, there's a whole world of complexity on either side of that divide, but either something is made up or it's not. So fiction is an umbrella that encompasses mystery and romance and science fiction and all of the usual subgenres, and then nonfiction would cover everything else, biography and history and natural history and whatnot. And the conversation with Jared moved on from there. But we generated a response video by Grix, a terrific booktuber. Did one of his walking and talking videos where he walks around ruminating on something that's on his mind in the most gorgeous scenery imaginable. And he was concerned with that categorization. Mainly because in the past, when I have been excoriating philosophy, I have said that when I have been excoriating philosophers or philosopher bros, I've said there's no such thing as truth with a capital T. There's no such thing as reality with a capital R. There's especially no such thing as wisdom with a capital W. And I think that may have been confusing to Grix, because if I'm saying there's no such thing as reality with a capital R, then how can I be saying that nonfiction reflects it? I think that might be where the misunderstanding is coming from. Of course, when I say there's no such thing as truth with a capital T or wisdom with a capital W or reality with a capital R, I'm not saying there's no such thing as truth or wisdom or reality. I'm saying there's no such thing as the capital R part of it. The weird pedestalization, guys with beers, ostentatious coffee mug, patches on the tweed jacket, ruminating that philosophy bros do about those things. When they talk about reality, they're not talking about the DMV and the speed limit on your local road and, can you believe how much textbooks cost this semester? They're not talking about that. That's reality, but they're not talking about that. They're always talking about reality with a capital R. A big thing, a big conceptual thing that A, they are better equipped to talk about than anyone, and B, in parentheses, silently, never emphasized, no woman on earth is capable of talking about it all. When they talk about truth, they're always talking about it with a capital T. Wisdom especially. Wisdom of the ancients, people whose bodies were crawling with lice. These ancients are imbued with wisdom. Their books are heavy with wisdom that we have lost in the modern day. That's what I mean when I say there's no such thing as reality with a capital R. I'm of course not saying there's no such thing as reality. I'm saying that there's no such thing as the pretentious bugbear that guys with beards tend to evoke when they're using that term. And in his video, in his walking around talking video, Grix starts to wonder if maybe the distinction should not be fiction and nonfiction, but rather literature and philosophy, broken down according to its claims on truth, to its form. And he's walking around and the scenery is beautiful, and as he's walking around, once he's getting into this distinction of his own, he's talking more and more nonsense. And the reason why a young man between the ages of 18 and 35, or 30, will go from just talking normally like you and I are doing right now to talking nonsense is if he brings in philosophy. That's what's going to happen when you bring in philosophy. But nevertheless, when he did, I realized that he is putting his finger on a problem with my own distinction, which is what do you do with philosophy in a system that says fiction and nonfiction. Because, of course, a philosopher is not inventing anything interesting, but they are still inventing something. I wasn't, in my dichotomy, fiction and nonfiction, I wasn't leaving room for slopping buckets of cow crap, which is what philosophy is. I wasn't leaving room for that as to, well, what would this be? What would this actually be? I think that philosophy would still fall under the broad heading of nonfiction. Because although the philosopher dude is coming up with new hair-splitting terms, if you were to ask him, and it's always him, he would say that he's not inventing anything, that he's in fact just revealing something. But either way, while Grix was out walking around on that beautiful path, I imagined him walking elsewhere. And in order to illustrate how, we're going to use the Kindle Scribe. We're going to imagine a cliff, a jagged cliff. Oh my, it looks very bad. It looks very bad. It's very steep. Oh, and someone, some kind soul, has realized that it's very steep and has put a sign up. Someone has put a sign up right at the edge saying, beware. And here we have young Grix. He's just walking along. He's just walking along. Tra-la-la. He's just minding his own business. He's headed towards the edge. Now, down below, there is a beast. There's a beast down below. And it is waiting for Grix. And it is Jared. He is down below. And he is waiting for Jared. But up above, there's a hand reaching out to Jared to try to help him. The hand is very muscular. It's the hand of a 28-year-old. It's reaching out to try to save him. He's trying to be saved. And that is the path that young Grix is actually on. Will he go over the cliff into the arms of philosophy, or will he be saved? That is the path. That is the question. Because, yes, you could muddy the distinction between nonfiction and fiction by introducing philosophy, what actually is philosophy, and then spend time walking around in beautiful scenery wondering if maybe we need a different categorization, or what you could really do is escape philosophy while you still can. You have a horrible fate awaiting you should you walk over that cliff. You want to escape philosophy while you still can. It's not a question of fitting it into the categories of fiction and nonfiction. It's a question of ignoring it altogether. That's what you do, is ignore it altogether. Instead of trying to figure out where philosophy fits in with fiction and nonfiction. But if we have to figure out where it fits in with my original distinction, it would be nonfiction. Because philosopher dudes are not inventing anything. They're coming up with systems. But so do mathematicians. Right? So do phylogenists. They come up with systems. But it's systems to rearrange things that are in the small r reality. They're systems that are designed to talk about and represent and examine small r reality. There is no capital R reality except in the abyss, except in the realm of guys with beards and mugs. Other than that, it's just reality, the stuff that we see all around us. It's not up for question. It's not up for grabs. It's not if you interpret it differently, it's suddenly something else. No, it just is. I refute it thus, said one particular opponent of philosophy. It's just there. It doesn't have a capital R. It's not any kind of essence that we need to ponder over by stroking our beards. We don't need to do any of that. And since that's true, I would say probably philosophy fits under nonfiction. Now, in his walking around video, Grix asked for a response video, and this is it. But I don't know if this response is going to help him at all. I don't know if I'm actually addressing the question that he raised. I was mainly worried about the state of his soul. That's what I was worried about. So here's hoping little missionary work will pluck him back from the edge. There's still room for one more Thomas Hardy scholar. Anyway, I'll wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you.